it's Tracy from Simply Into My Nails. Just coming to bring you a new video. I've been away for a while, having a nice relaxing time over the summer holidays. But during that time I've been unlucky and had a low tear in my nail. I've been nursing it for the past, I don't know, probably a month or so I think, because it started quite low down. It did start around this point, and now it's actually grown out so that it's actually near the free edge. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but that's where the break is. Now usually if I have a break like that I will patch it, but sometimes if I have a small break, I have like a small one on this nail which is at that point there, that one was just easy enough to repair quickly with a bit of glue, and I know that that will pretty much hold because it's not a finger that I'm using very often. But this nail likes to kind of get smashed up against things like the wall or the car door, anything really, anything that's like what you wouldn't want your hands to get caught on. This nail is all about getting in on the action. So I'm going to show you how I do a repair using fiberglass or silk. I tend to use fiberglass because it's a little bit stronger, and I can actually use it a bit easier. It doesn't fray quite so easily. So I'll just get my bits and pieces out and I will be back. So I'm back with the bits of paraphernalia that I need for this fiberglass wrap. So this is the fiberglass. It comes in a long strip. I really want to get the pre-cut stuff, but I can't seem to find it in the UK without having to spend like £7 for it, and no, I'm not spending that much, so I can quite easily cut it myself. It's a bit of a faff, but it's easy enough to do. So anyway, it comes in a long strip. The fiberglass has got kind of a pronounced sort of weave to it. I'll find a bit of silk to show you. And this is the silk wrap that I have. This is the new bit. Let's see if I can find the middle. The silk wrap has a less pronounced weave to it. It's a little bit more flexible, and it frays really easy along the side, where you can see it just fraying there, which is why I tend not to use it very often. So it's back to the fiberglass. What I will do is I'll need my fiberglass, my I think they're called stalk scissors. I think that's what they're called because it kind of looks like a stalk, I'm guessing. It's like a little beak with some fiberglass on it. I've been busy with that. I've got some base coat. I'm just using this Kiss base because I'm not keeping this manicure on for very long, and it soaks off a treat, and also the Kiss top gel. Polish that I have on at the moment is by a company called Glam and Glits, and it's called Ink. The colour is called Ultraviolet and it's number 14. Ink is a fabulous brand. I love it. It soaks off so easily and it wears really well for me, and it's really strong on my nails as well. At 3 coats and base coat, normal base coat, my nails are super strong. So I love this stuff. On my accent nail on this hand, I don't know if you can see that, I have some stamping, and I have Diamond Snow. Oh my gosh, my actual camera's going nuts. Yeah, I have Diamond Snow on, which is number 174. This one is a sort of gold. You're not going to be able to see that on the camera. Anyway, it's gold shimmer in a clear base. So you can pretty much see most of my nail through it. I'm going to have to move these bottles out of the way because they're literally sending my camera into a bit of a fit. Anyway, so I'm going to start now with the repair for this nail. I've already had it on today, but I figured actually this would be a really good opportunity to show you a video, so I've soaked off the repair and I'm going to do it again now to show you. So I'm just going to move all my bottles out of the way so that my camera doesn't start going nuts, and I will get started. So the first thing that I will do is I will make sure that my nail is properly prepared. I have already pretty much done that. I've pushed back my cuticles already. They don't really need much work anyway. I filed my nail already. I have slightly shined the surface of the centre of my nail just so that it makes the release of the base coat go a little bit easier, especially once you've got the fiberglass on it. It can make soak off a little bit longer, but not necessarily that much longer. I'll show you. I think I kept it somewhere. Oh. When you soak it off, it comes off in one piece, so the colour sticks to the fiberglass and it all comes off in one go. So I'll chop that away now. I just thought I'd show you how it soaks off. So I will get started now. So I need a lint-free wipe. With some alcohol and a little bit of acetone as well, and I will just rub that all over the nail just to make sure that it's dehydrated and free from oils. At this point, many people would use a product such as pH Bond or OPI Bond-Aid. I don't really use this on my nails, I don't need to. If I do use it, it would just literally be along the edge of the free edge, so not on this part of the nail. I don't need anything that makes soaking off any more difficult or wear any longer, because my gels stay on perfectly fine without any problems. If they lift, I'll fix it, but that doesn't really happen, to be honest. So I have cleared now the nail with the acetone and alcohol, and the next step is to get the fiberglass. I hope this is focusing. And I measure it just by putting my nail... Okay, let's see if I can do this. So I measure it by putting my nail alongside the fiberglass and pretty much eyeballing it. So I will see where it needs to be cut and then kind of guesstimate it really. This is why the pre-cut ones would be so much easier. So sometimes I get this right and sometimes I don't. So I've got a piece, kind of measure it on my nail. This is a bit thicker on that end, so what I tend to do is twist it round to the thinner end, so that is along there, and then I kind of bend it so that it curves around my nail so I can see whether it will fit each side. That pretty much does. So what I do now is get my stalk scissors, which are really sharp, and then I cut a kind of curve on the thinner end. And then, if I'm doing a client's nails, this is much easier because then I can just measure it against the length of their nail, and generally they have shorter nails, they don't have this amount of free edge, and they usually have square, squoval or rounded edges. But because mine are pointy, it makes it all the more interesting to try and make this shape fit my nail shape. So what I do, I've tried very many ways of doing this, cutting it whilst it's on the nail, cutting it before it gets on the nail, which is never a good idea for me because I don't have very good measurement skills at all. So I just peel the backing off, so it's like this, which leaves you with the fiberglass like this. It's got a sticky side and a non-sticky side, and then what I do, get the angle right, is I would just place this onto the nail, but I don't place it up to the cuticle. I make sure that I place it so that the edge of the fiberglass will cover where the tear is, and that this part that's near the cuticle end of the nail is lower down than the cuticle. It doesn't really need to be butted up against the cuticle because that just makes for difficult application for the gel polish afterwards or nail polish. It makes it look a bit untidy. This way it gets completely covered by the base coat, but I'll show you that anyway. So I grab a cuticle orange wood stick and then just pat down the fiberglass. And for instance, this one, I've not put it on properly because there's a gap which I can see. So you're not really supposed to do this, but I just peel it off again and then replace it, reposition it closer to that edge. So I've patted that down. You should really use an orange stick, but to be honest, that just makes it more fiddly, and ain't nobody got time for that. I just use my finger. It's fine. It doesn't make it lift. It's not a problem. So I pat that on. Some people would put glue along the split. I do that sometimes, but I sort of look at the state of the split, what kind of split it is. That was a clean break. It's not going to make any difference me putting any glue in there. If it was a kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but if it was a break that kind of slopes downwards, so there's a jagged edge between the broken part of the nail and the actual bed of the nail, then that makes for a really nice bond if you put some glue in there. And that can pretty much hold the nail by itself without the need for the fiberglass. I've had tears that have lasted for weeks and weeks and weeks by just using normal nail glue, and I've only had to put it on the once. But for a break like this, I don't need to put glue on it. I did when it was lower down here, but yeah, I don't need to there. It'll be fine. So anyway, I've patted that down now, and now for the fun part, which is trying to cut this bad boy into shape. Now, I won't torture you with having to watch me do this in real time because this is going to take ages because I'm so rubbish at it. But it's so difficult trying to cut it to shape without actually cutting my nail. But we'll see how that goes. Oh, well, looky here. It's actually working first time. It's just trying to prove me wrong, make me look like an idiot. So I just cut alongside the nail, getting it as close to, if not on top of, the nail, so that there's no frayed edges, because those frayed edges will cause a problem later on and they'll have to be buffed out. If you can cut it without getting any of those frayed edges, then it makes for a much easier application. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Oh my god. I'm going to cut myself. I won't really. It would be much easier, actually I'm not even going to say it, I will say it. It would be much easier if the break was on this hand, because this hand is the one that always breaks. This nail on this hand breaks. But yeah, the rest of them don't. But it's much easier to cut it with my right hand than it is with my left hand, because I am right-handed. So this always makes me feel like I'm going to cut myself, but I never have. But like I say, it's so much easier doing clients' nails, especially when they have square or squaval nails. So now, hopefully you can see that. That is the silk. Oh. So now that is the silk applied to the nail. So the next step is to get your base coat of choice. Like I said, I'm using the Kiss base coat, but I've got a whole raft of base coats. This is, I don't know if you can see this, these are my base coats and top coats. I'm not about to get them all out, but I've got quite a few in there. I've got OPI, I've got Gelish, I've got Vita Gels, I've got all sorts in there. That goes well with me everywhere when I go to clients, and then I will use whichever one I'm using the system for, or whichever base coat works best for that particular person's nails. So I will then add the base coat to the nail, getting it right up to the cuticle but not touching the skin. And I'll just apply a normal thickness layer. This Kiss base coat is not like Gelish Top It Off, where you have to just scrub a small amount in. It's a thicker consistency, and it's more sort of applied like a polish, to be honest. So it makes it quite easy when you're doing a repair like this. So now the base coat is on the nail. It's completely covered the weave pattern of the fiberglass. So now I will put that in the lamp for 30 seconds. So now that's been cured for 30 seconds in the LED lamp. I'll now add another coat of base coat. Same thickness as before. Getting that base coat right up to the cuticle but not touching the skin. That smooths out any line of demarcation from where the fiberglass was added but not placed right up to the cuticle, and it also smooths out any imperfections of the weave pattern. So I'm going to pop that back in the lamp for another 30 seconds. So that's come out of the lamp now. It's had the full 2 coats of base coat. So Mr. Base Coat has now done his job. Now at this point I would assess the free edge and see how smooth it is. This is not smooth, so I would remove the sticky layer and file it a little bit. So I'll get a lint-free pad. And some alcohol. And then just remove that using a downward motion. So I'm not sure if you can see that, but there is like let's get that orange wood stick that I unceremoniously threw across the room earlier. There is a little bit of sort of a jagged edge along there. Now, when I've done this on clients' nails, they've kind of looked at me crazily like, yeah, that looks perfect. Oh my God, this is magic. But why are you being so fussy? You're such a perfectionist. But I know from personal experience that if I left that jagged edge on, it would literally drive me nuts. It would stick through the edge of my gel. It wouldn't make a nice smooth finish on the edge of my top coat. So I always file that off. I will get my API 240 file and then just file that free edge. I've now filed that a bit and got most of that free edge quite smooth. but I'm not 100% happy with it, so I will grab my Leighton Denny glass file. Just going to move things up. Hopefully that will stop my camera from being weird. Right. So I will file some more. Such a weird angle. So now that is smooth, there's no jagged edges whatsoever. Now at this point you can add a really thin coat of base coat, or if I was doing a client's nails I would probably add a coat of jelly structure, because that will give it a little bit more strength over the break, and I wouldn't know how hard that client is being on their nails, so in order for them not to be too sort of worried about it breaking, I would just use a structure. But for myself I would use either base coat, or I wouldn't bother putting anything on it at all. But for this one I have sort of filed it quite a lot, so I will put another coat on, but it will be very thin and it will be concentrated mainly on the tip of the nail and the free edge, just to reseal that. There's a load of fluff in that, so I've just taken the bits of fluff out using an orange wood stick, and I'm just going to go over that again. That nail will go into the LED lamp for another 30 seconds. So that's the completed repair with wet gel base coat. Now the next step would be to put the colour coats on. So I will put some of this ultraviolet on. You may be thinking, hang on a minute, why is she not doing this pattern? If I have nails with just one nail with nail art on it, I will typically have just a plain colour on the right hand, just because I prefer how it looks that way. I'm quite weird, like I like symmetry. If there were two nails done on this hand, then there would be two nails on this hand, but I think it looks a bit more edgy with just one done. So that's how I do it. It would be a good opportunity to show you how I did this nail, but to be honest, it was a bit of a nightmare. I couldn't get it to line up to save my life, so it's probably a good idea that I do it this way anyway, especially on camera. So I just apply the colour coats, thin coat, cap the edge, and then float the colour back over just to make sure that it's not bumpy on the edge. Pop that in the light for 30 seconds. So now for the second coat. So just get it as close to the cuticle as possible without touching the skin. If you do get it on the skin, just remove it with a brush dipped in isopropyl alcohol. Some people use acetone, and I do that as well. If it's a colour that tends to stain, like a red or a blue, then I'll probably use acetone. But otherwise it's isopropyl alcohol. So that's the second coat. I just check to make sure that it's not sort of crept into the side walls or the cuticle, and I put that in the light for 30 seconds. And now for the third coat. Most of the ink polishes that I have tend to take 3 coats. So that's what I'm doing here. Cap the free edge. At this point I typically turn my nail over and just make sure that, oops, I've completely capped that free edge. And then just take off any excess polish. And then cure that in the LED lamp for 30 seconds. So that's the third coat, and it's cured. So the last step is to put the top coat on. So that's all finished. I then grab some of my finishing conditioning wipe solution. And then just remove the sticky layer, or the inhibition layer. Using a downward motion, I fold over this wipe, drag it off, and clean under the free edge. And that's it. So the next step is to wash my hands and put some moisturiser on, so I'll go and do that off camera and I'll be back in a second. So my hands are now washed. I wash them twice. I do one wash with soap and then rinse it, do the same again, just make sure that I get all of the residual gel off my hands. I then get my cuticle oil of choice. At the moment I use Fiberglass because I like it, and I use the OPI system on my clients, so I have this one. And then I will moisturise my hands, and I will use Fiberglass high intensity moisturiser, which is really nice. It's not greasy, it's easily distributed into my hands. Just make sure that I put it into the cuticles. There we go. One repaired nail. I'm not sure if you can see that properly. But it doesn't look any different to the other nails. You couldn't tell that there's a repair there. And if I show you along that edge, that's where the break is. I don't know if you can see that. You can't see. I don't think you can see. Can you see? I can't see. That's how I do my fiberglass or silk repairs on my nails. The steps are exactly the same for whichever wrap you're using. You can buff the surface after you've applied it. You can apply it in many different ways. You can add a small amount to just the crack of the where the nail's cracked, or you can add it over the whole nail or half of the nail, but I do it on pretty much all of the nail because it makes it a lot easier when it comes to getting a smooth finish, because then I don't have to do any buffing, and I don't like buffing, so that works for me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back again shortly with another video once I've decided what that video will be of. I might show you all my collection. because I've got quite a lot of gel polishes. I mean, on my desk at the moment, because I've been swatching the OPI Venice collection, I have actually got all of these little beauties. So that's a small selection of what I've got. So maybe I will come back and show you some swatches, I don't know, of my whole collection of OPIs and IBDs. I've got some Cachillos, some ASP polishes, I've got some finger paints, I've got red carpet manicure, I've got some gelish. Maybe I should come back to you with a video showing you my collection. It's going to take a while though. Anyway, let's move those to the side and pretend that you didn't see those. I will be back with another video shortly, but in the meantime, thank you for watching and see you soon. Bye!